Here we are with yet another comparison video, and this time we have brought together 3 different skin divers from separate price points. Starting with the cheapest at around $400 and going nearly up to $11,000. This is going to be a fun one. Let's get going, guys. The 3 watches we have are the Wolbrook Skindiver coming in at the sub $500 price point, the Airain Sous Marine coming in at just around $2,000, and finally the Glashutte Original SeaQ, which will set you back nearly $11,000. Usually get what you pay for in the watch industry, and here we get to the whole point of this video. What do you get when you spend more money? Let's start off by going over the watches side by side on paper, give you my thoughts after wearing each of these watches for a week or more, and some notable differences, while highlighting some of my thoughts about each, and also who might be the ideal buyer for each of these pieces, and finally, our pick of the bunch. So let's kick things off with the spec sheets. Starting off with the Wolbrook, the case is 40 millimeters with a 48 millimeter lug to lug, which is 13 millimeters thick and has a 20 millimeter lug width. It is water resistant to 150 meters and is yours for $423. Let's go into the Airain Sous Marine, which is 37.5 millimeter case with 48.2 millimeters lug to lug and is 12.8 millimeters thick with a 20 millimeter strap lug width and is water resistant to 200 meters. This watch sells for 1,950 euros, which translates to about $2,034 at the time of recording. All right, here we have the SeaQ, which is 39.5 millimeters case diameter, 47.2 millimeters lug to lug, has a thickness of about 12.2 millimeters, and 20 millimeter lug width, which is water resistant to 200 meters and is yours for $10,600. Moving on to the movements. Let's take a look here. We have the Wolbrook, which is the Miyota 8315, which of course is a self-winding and automatic movement, which has 60 hours of power, beating at 21,600 vibrations per hour, has some Geneva striping and blued screws. Next up, we have the Airain Sous Marine, which is the caliber AM5, which is based on the Glashutte G100, which also is a self-winding automatic movement, which has 68 hours of power, beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, also has Geneva striping with blued and polished screws. Finally, here we have the Glashutte SeaQ, which uses the in-house caliber 3911, which is a self-winding automatic movement, which has 40 hours of power reserve, beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, has the Glashutte 3/4 plate striping finish with a swan neck fine adjustment system, and has a 21 karat gold rotor. So having these watches for about a week, I noticed a few things here about each of those. Let's jump into those. The Wolbrook obviously comes in at $423, and I did not expect much, but I was surprised with the finishing and build quality for the money. The Beads of Rice bracelet is comfortable and does well on my wrists. The Wolbrook issued bracelet and rubber has a quick release system. There are a few points of micro adjustment here on the bracelet, which you do need a tool to use. And after wearing this for the longest, is holding up actually pretty well with no signs of wear. The lume is decent, but doesn't glow as bright or as long as I'd like. You have by far the most options in fun with Wolbrook, as you can get this watch in nearly every dial color imaginable, even two-tone options, steel and gold. There are a few complications to choose from. You can get this in a chronograph or a world timer, or you see the one that I have here, which is the professional diver. You can even opt for Hesalite or Sapphire. Here is the Sapphire. This watch has a 120 click bezel and is made from aluminum. I would say overall the watch is what you would expect for its price segment. Not much more. Let's take a look at the Airain here. So the Airain Sous Marine comes in at nearly 4 times the price of the Wolbrook, which is $2,034. I would say before I even got the watch on wrist, I was impressed by the packaging and the unboxing experience. The warranty is awesome on this. Just activating it is an experience in itself. This watch has been under development for a while now, and after doing a ton of research, this watch has legit and epic heritage, being released in 1962, which actually predates the SeaQ, which is odd considering everybody thinks this watch looks like a SeaQ. And Glashutte gets credit for this design language. This watch has some unique design features which can't be found on the others, and the first one to talk about is the perimeter crown system, which is unusual but a welcome design feature which aids at giving us an extra bump in water resistance. The date disc also utilizes the roulette style design, which alternates between black and red printing. A subtle and playful touch. The bezel is coated with PVD, and I'm curious as to how it will hold up over time. The watch comes with a Tropic rubber strap and also the Flex O-Fit bracelet. The bracelet, however, frustrating to size, once was dialed in, was the most comfortable of the showcase. The way the bracelet stretches and allows the watch to sit firmly, comfortably, and perfectly positioned on my wrist. This is something you're not going to get much from any other bracelet design out there. The lume is impressive, as you can see here, and I love the countdown bezel. This is something you're starting to see more, which I actually personally welcome on dive watches. I have to say that I'm super impressed with the Sous Marine. It's hard to find a Swiss-made diver built this well in its price segment. Finally, we have the Glashutte SeaQ, which is the monster of the lot, coming in at $10,600, which is 6 times the price of the Sous Marine, and you really feel that once you get it in hand. The one I have here is the Reed Green dial, which wasn't my first pick, but it was what Glashutte had available for loan at the time of this recording, and after getting it on wrist and wearing it, I really learned to love it. I'm grateful this came as opposed to the black dial as I requested. It almost appeared black in certain lighting conditions and green in others. The bracelet on the SeaQ is epic, with options to loosen or tighten the micro adjustment system while you're wearing it. You press a button here at the bottom of the clasp. This is my favorite bracelet design in the industry. You can actually give yourself about 8 millimeters of comfort depending on your needs. The way you size the bracelet is through a screw down trigger system, which is by far the easiest to size, and it took the least amount of time to get on wrist. The bracelet finishing alternates between a satin and high polish, which, however beautiful, makes it feel a little bit more dressier than toolish for you purists out there. The SeaQ is a watch that can play really well in both environments if you plan to dress it up or sport it down. There's also a bunch of dial flavors, and there's a couple two-tone options as well. You can all have these with different strap configurations, and you can either opt for a big date or a chronograph if you're willing to step up in the case size. This watch you have to buy on the bracelet considering how good it is. The bezel, which is made of ceramic, is a step above the others, as it should with the price tag. This is by far the most robust of the lot, as you would expect for its price point. So let's bring all these together and look at the differences on the outside and inside. The Wolbrook is finished well for the money, but isn't as finished as good as the Airain Sous Marine and SeaQ. When looking at the two side by side, it's really hard to point out which one's better finished between the Airain and the Glashutte. The bracelets are a toss-up, in my opinion, between the Sous Marine and the SeaQ, mostly falling back to preference. I'd say the comfort champion is definitely the Sous Marine, but you definitely have a more robust bracelet from the SeaQ, which in my opinion is nearly as comfortable as the Sous Marine, mostly being because of the micro adjustment system. However, the Sous Marine requires no effort from the wearer to adjust to comfort because it is a Flex O-Fit system. The Flex O-Fit bracelet holds the Sous Marine on the wrist more securely while retaining that comfort. Both the Wolbrook and the SeaQ feel less playful when sitting next to the Sous Marine due to its perimeter crown system and its roulette style date window. Of course, when you look at the Wolbrook and the Sous Marine, you definitely see how they're keeping costs lower, mainly with the use of the movement choices. The Wolbrook houses the Miyota 8315, which when comes time to service is just going to be a rip and replace, making it the cheapest to own and daily drive, of course. things aren't as simple with the Sous Marine, which has customized and decorated version of the G100, which is a rock-solid performer with a beefy power reserve of nearly 68 hours. Glashutte Original is owned by Citizen Group and competes with the likes of Salida and Etta, providing a robust and hardy movement, and is becoming a widespread in the industry. The SeaQ is in a league of its own, powered by an in-house caliber, which is decorated from top to bottom and utilizes a patented dual swan neck regulation system, which allows the SeaQ to be super accurate and is wound by a 21 karat gold rotor. Being an in-house caliber, I'd recommend service to be done with the manufacturer, which is going to have access to spare parts, resources, and technical expertise, which may or may not be available locally to you. Local watchmakers will know how to work on these other two movements and will be hard to beat in price and intervention times. But sending your watch out of warranty back to service at the brand will usually carry added costs and longer service times. Also, you get a brand-backed guarantee on their service, which is worth something. Sometimes it's worth it to pay that extra premium. However, Glashütte's parent company Swatch Group has been good to me when it comes to service, especially when I've sent off my Omegas. Objectively, as you spend more, the watch becomes more expensive to maintain, obviously. And there's no difference here. Ask yourself if you're looking for a cheap to maintain daily driver or an expensive beauty such as the SeaQ, or maybe even something in between. And finally, maybe the part you've been waiting for is which one should you buy? Well, 3 vastly different price points is even more challenging than I expected. All 3 are great watches to pick up. If you want the Skindiver look without busting open the piggy bank, definitely go for the Wolbrook. If you want the most utility while appreciating the small and unique design details, buy the Sous Marine. And if money is less of a problem and then you enjoy the finest things in life, then pick yourself up the SeaQ. But if I had to choose one and only one, it would definitely be the Airain Sous Marine. As much as I love the fact that Wolbrook could be the affordable everyday beater, I'm obsessed with the finishing and details of a luxury product. And the Airain checks enough of those boxes for me at this price point. I certainly think it's worth the upgrade. And finally, let's talk about the SeaQ, which in my opinion has a lot of competition within its price segment, depending on your journey as a watch collector. That being said, you cannot go wrong with any of these awesome pieces. Hopefully this video was insightful and enjoyable to watch. Finally, I'd like to give a shout out to a couple people, Tom at CDMLEC, Ali at Glashutte, and Wolbrook for helping me gain access to these beautiful pieces and bring you this comparison video while allowing me to express myself freely as a creator. You're all awesome. Be sure to check them out. I will link all these products in the descriptions below. Please be sure to drop a comment which one you would buy if money wasn't an option, or make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more watch content right around the corner. I will see you on the next one. Blake here from Lonely Wrist. Never have a lonely wrist.